What's up, everybody, and welcome to The Horror Within Me, a podcast dedicated to the world of horror. I am your host, Eric, and each week I'm going to rate and review a new movie or TV show that falls within the horror genre. Now, this is a show for horror fans, hosted by a horror fan, who's just here to share my opinions and experiences with my fellow horror friends in hopes that you may gain something new to watch or not watch, and really just talk about all things related to this beautifully dark and spooky world that we call horror. So if this sounds like a show for you, stick around, we're going to have a lot of fun. So let's get started. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another Spooky Sunday episode of The Horror Within Me. I am your host, Eric, and this is a podcast where I do horror movie reviews and interviews. This week, we are kicking off the first of 5 Halloween favorites. So what that means is I'm picking my top 5 go-to Halloween movies to get in the Halloween spirit. As we all know, today is October 1st, so it is the first of that. And if you, just an FYI, I'm going to be also just recommending other movies. I'm going to try to do this. My challenge is 31 Days of Halloween on my social channels, so that's at least Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, aka X, if you're nasty. So, if you're not following on the social channels, and you should be if you're listening to the show by now, because I talk about it every week, follow me on the social channels to get more recommendations. But I'm doing my top 5 on the podcast. And coming in first for this week is going to be the sequel to one of my favorite movies, and the movie that we kicked off last October with the original star from the movie, which was Night of the Demons. This week, we're going to be doing Night of the Demons 2. Now, while I don't have Miss Amelia Kinkade back for this episode, it's still going to be an amazing episode. We're going to talk about all the things that we do. We're going to have some fun reviews and just have a really good time, because this is one of my favorite sequels of all time to one of my favorite movies, again, of all time. So before we get into all of that, we're going to take a moment, do what we always do. So if you're new to the show, every week we do a terrifying trivia question where some question that I make up comes in. It has to do with the movie, and then we answer it at the end. So it is time for this week's terrifying trivia question. So the question is, what item does BB take from Hull House that has allowed Angela to cross the underground stream? Stick around to the end of the episode to find out. All right, so we're going to jump right in this week. We're going to just start off strong. We're going to go into IMDb. We're going to read the synopsis, who stars in it, when it was released, all the stuff we do every week. So the synopsis for Night of the Demons 2 on IMDb is this. It says, high school students throw a Halloween party in a mansion haunted by a young demon. I have a problem with this synopsis. If you've been listening again, there are some pretty accurate synopses on IMDb, and some of them are just strange. And this falls in the category of being a very strange synopsis, because it's like high school students throw a Halloween party in a mansion haunted by a young demon. How about it's not just a mansion, it's an abandoned funeral parlor and a young demon? I mean, it's just the young demon thing is throwing me off. Like, it's not, and it's also not haunted. It literally describes the difference between hauntings and possessions in Night of the Demons 1, and the details here are just pissing me off. It's not a haunted house or a haunted mansion. It's a possessed funeral parlor, and that's what's going on here. And Angela, spoiler alert, was a regular high school student in the first one who became possessed by a demon and is returning in the sequel. So the synopsis to me just throws me off. So that's not completely accurate, so listen to my synopsis a little bit better. Troubled delinquent teens from a Catholic academy boarding school go to check out the legend of Hull House on Halloween to raise their own hell, when unexpectedly Angela returns for another night of the demons. That's my synopsis, and I think that's a much better synopsis. Anyway, Night of the Demons 2 is starring Amelia Kinkade as Angela, Christy Harris as BB, Merle Kennedy as Melissa, aka Mouse, Jennifer Rhodes as Sister Gloria, Lad York as Kurt, Zoe Trilling as Shirley, Christine Taylor as Terry, and Johnny Moran as Johnny. It was released May 13th, 1994. It was directed by Brian Trenchard Smith, produced by Jeffrey. I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced, and it's just okay. Sorry to you. I don't know why your parents hated you, but anyway, written by Joe Augustine and James Penzi, has a rating of R, a runtime of 1 hour and 36 minutes. And here's the kicker. This is the next part is the genre categories that are on IMDb, and it threw me off. There's four. The genre on IMDb for Night of the Demons 2 is comedy, fantasy, horror, and romance. I feel like it's a multiple choice question. Like, which of these fall for that? And okay, for me, comedy and horror is all you need for the genre for Night of the Demons 2. I really don't know where romance falls into Night of the Demons 2. And fantasy, I guess any fiction is fantasy, but it just doesn't give that. Like, when I think of fantasy, I think of like the never ending story, or you know what I mean? And romance, really? This isn't I oh my god, I just couldn't believe that fantasy and romance fell under the genre. I'm like, I feel like whoever did this didn't pay enough attention. Anyway, the tagline for Night of the Demons 2 is "No one leaves this party ever." It has an IMDb rating of a 5.9 out of 10. And on Rotten Tomatoes, there is no tomato meter, which means there was like 3 critics that watched it, and there wasn't enough to give a tomato meter score. But it has an audience score of 53%. So that's the on paper part of Night of the Demons 2. I want to talk a little bit about the history of Night of the Demons 2 and myself, because this is very significant role in my life. And if you listened to the interview with Amelia Kinkade that was last October, you probably have some idea of my significance to this franchise, but specifically Night of the Demons 1 and Night of the Demons 2. Night of the Demons, the original, scared the fuck out of me, and it's definitely a Halloween favorite. Um, but I wanted to talk more, and it just is gaining more popularity again with the Mutant Family, if you know what that is, with the Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs or something. I forget. I know. Don't kill me, family. I'm bad with names, but they just had Linnea Quigley and Amelia Kinkade on for the Jamboree, and they played Night of the Demons, and all over horror Twitter was everyone tweeting about it, and I just thought it was so cool. And it's just Gutter Garbs is going to be doing a Night of the Demons 1, 2, and 3 shirts again. And then there's the Shout Factory Collectors Night of the Demons 1, 2, and 3 Blu-rays and 4Ks that are coming out, which I did pre-order. The big box set that comes with the 6 posters, like the enamel pin, the different slip covers. Like, I'm very excited. Mine should be shipping this week. So I think it's amazing that this whole franchise is getting a whole fresh new audience of horror fans, and it's just an amazing thing because I came across Night of the Demons and Night of the Demons 2 when I was very young. But I remember specifically it was my first franchise that I found on my own as a horror fan. Like Freddy, Jason, Michael, all of that I was exposed to from my mother, who was a fan. But Night of the Demons is always something very special to me, for something that I found on my own and hold very dear. And have always, and I even introduced it to like my best childhood friends when we were growing up, and we talk about it all the time. When we do talk, like, it's just one of those 2 movies that I constantly watch. But more so, Night of the Demons 2, we watched a lot too, because of more of the comedy factor in it than the horror factor, because the first one was scary and more scary than the second one. The second one was a lot of fun. That's how I think of Night of the Demons 2. Like, it is amazing, but it's a fun viewing party movie. There's a lot of stupid comedy, and a lot of people don't like that about it. But I did. I because I was young when I was watching it, so I'd like to do the fun stuff that was in it, and not always so scary, because we watch it to talk shit, right? So I love that Angela was back. It was the same actress. She looked amazing, like even better than in the first one. And it was just, there was a lot going on, and it just really is something that will always be one of my top favorite movies, especially the first and second one. But does that mean that everybody felt the same way? we have to find out, right? Because this is a podcast where I try to give two sides to the stories, right? We have, well, three sides to the stories. We have people who love the movie, people who hated the movie, and then where I fall in, right? So I think that's what's the most fun that I have on this show is that we could pick a movie and love it or hate it because I always tell people to form their own opinions because this show proves that you can have a beloved 10 out of 10 movie rating on IMDb and a 1 out of 10 movie rating on IMDb for the same film because of the perspectives that people go into it with. And that's why I just pick 3 and 3 and then give my own. And then hopefully you can decide for yourself too whether you like the movie or not. So, what I'm saying, it is time for the top 3 best and worst reviews for Night of the Demons 2 on IMDb. Scroll down. I'm going to take a sip of my non-alcoholic Heineken Zero. Look at this. If you're watching the show on YouTube, this is so cool. It tastes just like a Heineken. I used to drink Heineken at the bar, but now I don't drink. But I still have my fun drink, so I'm going to take a sip. It's not daytime. It's even though it doesn't matter. It's not alcohol. I'm still not drinking a beer in the daytime. It's nighttime right now. Anyway, coming in at the first review, it's called Fun Gore Screams! Exclamation point. This was written in March of 2004. The review is I have seen all 3 of these movies and loved them all. Maybe it's because I was younger, I'm not sure. I've seen them all about 5 times each, maybe. I thoroughly enjoyed them and think they are funny, but spooky, but also pretty sexual. Not for someone too young, but definitely good for someone 16 or older. I think if you are looking to really be scared, you will be watching the wrong movie. But if you like to be spooked, maybe creeped out, and jumpy, then this is for you. The actress who plays Angela does an amazing job as far as creepiness goes, and so do the other small time actors and actresses in all 3 movies. I recommend these movies. And then they did the old emoji smiley face where it's like the equal sign and the parenthesis. Um, I just want to also put a disclaimer. This was a difficult because I didn't have a lot of reviews to pick from either for the movie, like on good or bad, because there wasn't that many on IMDb. So I had to like be very like almost just pick what was there. But this one struck me because it seems like they're trying to like find the words to say it was a good movie, but didn't know how to say it was a good movie, and pretty sexual. We've talked about this with the Pope's Exorcist. Something with possession movies and demons, it's always sexual. It's always vulgar and very sexual. And for those who have never seen any of the demons, it is very sexual as well. And like the way that they possessed the other people is that they would kiss them basically, and that's how they became possessed by a demon. So anyway, I thought that it was funny. Like I've seen all 3 of these movies and loved them all. And they picked a specific like. If you ask me like how many times have you seen Night of the Demons movies, I'd be like, oh my god, it's countless. I can't figure it out. They're like I've seen them all about 5 times each, maybe. And just I thought it was funny that they came up with like the number 5. They could have just like I've seen them all several times and just really enjoy them. Like maybe just about 5 times each. I also like how they gave like an audience like rating, like not even like rated R for 17 and up. Like I think you can watch this if you're about 16 or older, but anyone under 16, absolutely not. Like they gave you like an age range to start to view it. And I also love that they shout out Amelia Kinkade, even though they didn't specifically name her. They said the actress who plays Angela does an amazing job, but then goes on to say, so do the other small time actors and actresses. You didn't have to say small time actors and actresses. I think it's funny too that Christine Taylor's in this, and if you don't know who she is, she's Ben Stiller's wife, and now look her up. She played Marsha Brady in the Brady Bunch movies, as well as like a lot of other characters in the Ben Stiller universe movies. But I just think it's funny. Other small time actors and actresses. I mean, like it is what they are, but I feel like it's kind of a dig. Anyway, that's my critique on this review. The next review is called All Grown Up and Ready to Party. Here we go. This was written in February of 1999. I was like 12, 13 years old when this review was written. Here we go. Angela's grown up and wants some new playmates. I was really looking forward to this movie after watching the first one and was surprised to see Christine Taylor, in parentheses, a character named Terry, in this movie. I liked many of the concepts, and then we have more parentheses. Look for a pleasing, in quotations, experience for Kurt, in parentheses. And most of this movie made the other pale in comparison. I had to give it a 10 since it was better than the original, and I loved every minute of it. At least it didn't resort to become just another cheesy sequel. Now, if only I could find number three. Dot, 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 dot. I want to start off with this too. Number three is hard as fuck to find. Like, it is just so hard. Like, when I was re prepping for my interview for Amelia Kinkade, I rewatched them again just to have, like, even though I've seen the first two more times than the third, because it's hard to find the third. I think I found the third eventually on YouTube and had to watch it in like parts. And I'm so excited that I'm gonna have it on Blu-ray because it was so difficult to find the three. Anyway, um, I don't get Angela's grown up and wants some new playmates. I'm not. I mean, it's a good review, but I'm confused on the playmates or not the playmates. I'm confused on the grown up part. Like Angela's all grown up. She's not. She's okay. She's just a demon now. It's not like she was a baby, and now she's not a baby. Like I don't understand. Like I could see, it's just weird. Um, and most of the movie made the other pale in comparison, and said that they think it was better than the original. I don't think it was better than the original. I think it is a really good sequel for the franchise. I think it made sense. They had a storyline, but I wouldn't say it was better than the original. That's all I really have for this review. Time to move on to the final best review for Night of the Demons 2 on IMDb. This one is titled A Solid Follow Up. This was written in September of 2023. So this was just written. So I'm wondering if this person read it or watched it because they watched it on the last drive-in and then went to watch the sequel. Anyway, it has warning spoilers in it. There's a review is Night of the Demons 2 is an immensely entertaining follow-up to the original and in many ways is even better. The movie initially follows another group of teens who decide to spend Halloween night in the deserted Hull House and quickly find themselves besieged by evil demons before briefly flipping the script. While the original was fun and spooky, supernatural horror, Night of the Demons 2 goes for full-on campy comedy. The characters are exaggeratedly goofy, and the special effects are delightfully over the top. The performances by the cast are also great, as they play their roles with good enthusiasm. The movie is also filled with plenty of cheap scares and gross out gags, which makes it a blast to watch. All in all, Night of the Demons 2 is a horror comedy classic that is sure to put a smile on your face. It's not quite as good as the original, but it's still an incredibly entertaining movie that is well worth a watch. I love this review. I love, love, love this review, except for the contradiction where in the beginning it says in many ways it's better than the original, and at the end it says it's not quite as good as the originals. Like pick a coin, like pick a side. But other than that, I think this person really hit it on there. Like it's full on campy comedy. It is everyone's so well done in their character. They do it 100%, and it is definitely sure to put a smile on your face. Like it, we watched it recently, me, Ryan, and Jenny, because they had never seen it, but they watched the original. And yes, we laughed, and it was great. It's just so, it's like they said, a horror classic, horror comedy classic. It's definitely on that list. So this was a great review, and that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave it at that. We're gonna leave the good reviews on a good note, and we're going to move on now to the top three worst reviews for Night of the Demons 2 on IMDb. This review was written in January of 2008 and is titled Waste of Time. Here we go. It's been a while since I saw a movie that infuriated me like this one. I cannot believe I actually paid for this piece of junk. About an hour into the movie, I couldn't figure out whether it was a bad comedy or horror movie. And I was also certain that the writers had never seen the original Night of the Demons. The demons don't crack stupid jokes in the first movie. Did the writers think they were being funny or original? It wasn't either of those things. If they wanted to make a comedy or spoof, then that's what they should have done, and not ruin what could have potentially been a long running franchise. At this point, I would gladly give this movie away. What's harder to believe than how bad this movie was is the fact that there's a third Night of the Demons, meaning that this sorry excuse for our movie actually made money. I like the beginning. Saw a movie. It's infuriated me like this one. I feel like that says a lot about the person because, like, you're infuriated by watching a movie. Like, that's pissing you off that bad? Like, if you're just not into it, just turn it off. You sat through it, you idiot. And you're infuriated because you paid money for this piece of junk. I couldn't figure out whether it was a bad comedy or a horror movie. It was a horror comedy movie, but I feel like people like this person was a fan of the original, which again was not original, but the first one, which was more on scary horror, not so much comedy. And this one was more very, like I've said in the other good review, like horror comedy. And I think there are some people that just don't get into the horror comedy. They just get pissed off. I feel like that was what this person was. We're gonna just leave it there. Moving on to the second worst review. It's titled, I like this, ready? Awful, boring, and not even remotely scary. And then in parentheses, it says, or funny. This was written in January of 2016. The review is, I should have known what I was getting myself into watching this movie. I watched the abomination of a movie, Night of the Demons, 1988, and already had this sequel, this movie in quotations, in my possession. I figured it couldn't be any worse than the original. I couldn't have been more wrong. This is one of the few movies I actually had to give up on before it was even over. I got about 67 minutes into this torturous piece of garbage and had to turn it off. There's absolutely nothing frightening or even close in all caps, to frightening in the portion of this that I watched. I did, however, notice many failed attempts at humor, although most, if not all, were sexual in nature and would only be clever or funny to someone who was either an immature child or worse. I was hoping this would be more along the lines of something great like Demons from 1985, not even close. I can only imagine how bad the third film in this series is. Avoid this like the plague. First off, you know what I'm going to say. You already know what I'm going to say. They said it in the first line. I should have known what I was getting myself into and to watch this movie because you already hate it. You called the first one an abomination, and figured it couldn't be any worse than the original. Why would you think that? You know what I'm saying? Like, why would you think it would? Like, if you didn't like Night of the Demons 1, why do you think you would watch Night of the Demons 2? I don't do that. I'm like, there's no, like, I don't be like, oh, I'm going to watch a movie and I'm like, oh, the sequel's out. I'm going to have to watch that too because I hated the first one. Like, you make no sense, person. Why would you do that? And then, like, what the fuck? I got about 67 minutes in. Why don't you just say I got into like the first hour? Like, I got about 67 minutes in. 67 minutes. I don't like that number. That I should have known what I was getting into reading this fucking review. And then here we go, comparing it to other movies. I thought it was going to be great, like Demons from 1985. I've never seen Demons from 1985. I know it's not the same franchise or anything, but I don't know what you thought. And then, like, it was very sexual. Again, yes, I get it. But I thought it was funny. They was like, you had to be, it's only funny or clever to an immature child or worse. I mean, you're probably right. But I laughed. And I guess I'm an immature child. But fuck you anyway. And moving on to the last worst review for Night of the Demons 2 on IMDb is titled Mindless Crappy Stuff ... This was written in October of 2005. The review is, I had to watch this film with a horror-obsessed friend for over 1.5 hours, and I think I've seen some of the most nauseating scenes in this film recently. A possessed character's bare breasts turned into 2 hands and attacked her boyfriend. I will remember that for a long time. The film has no storyline, no good actor, in parentheses it says, although as far as I can tell, Ben Stiller's wife is in it, and then no horrifying atmosphere or even a decent screenplay. It only has some innovative, and then parentheses again, yes indeed, demonic behavior scenes which fans of such movies like my friend might enjoy. I didn't see the prequel, so I cannot compare. First of all, it wasn't a fucking prequel. Do you know what this person doesn't seem like they're a movie person at all. They're just using words. I didn't see the prequel. There's no prequel. I didn't see the first one. It's not a prequel. It's not like, I mean, I guess kind of it's what happened before, but it's still, don't use that word. I don't understand why you're doing that. You can't compare. And also, like, you started off like you had to watch this film with a horror obsessed friend. They forced you to watch this movie. I get it because I've asked people to watch some movies with me. And I am kudos that you have a horror obsessed friend, and I'm glad that they are probably big fans of this movie, and you just don't understand why. Um, some of the most nauseating scenes, and there are some pretty gruesome scenes. I love it. I love that they talk about the fucking girl with the hands coming out of their tits. I fucking love that's such a great part because if you've seen the first one, there's a scene with the woman with Suzanne who has her lipstick. She draws all over her face, and then she like drawing around her breast, and then like puts the lipstick through her breast, and then like pulls her finger out, and it's gone. It's just an amazing thing. So like on this one, when the one girl is a demon, and she like rips her shirt open, and then she's like, "You want a sticky treat?" My friend's like, "Yeah, sure." And they're like back. They're like on the like in the high school gym like place or whatever, like on the grounds at the school, which is a Catholic school, so there's nuns and priests and shit. She pulls her tits out, and then like he goes to like touch them in front of all the other kids that are sitting there dancing still, and then two hands just come out and start like burning and crippling his hand, and it's just like acid eating through it, and he's like screaming. Which also like at that point, there's like in that scene like the words in his mouth don't match, which is super funny. But I love that fucking scene. Like this is what I'm talking about. Like I don't know. I just loved it. This person clearly not a fan, and that's fine because they don't seem to be like a horror fan because they said they watched it with their horror obsessed friend. So whatever. We didn't need you anyway. We don't need you. We have a huge community of people that love this. But that concludes the top 3 best and worst reviews for Night of the Demons 2 on IMDb. So it's time to get into the next part of the show where I talk about what I liked the most and what I liked the least from the movie. So what I liked the most from Night of the Demons 2, if I have to narrow it down, was that Angela was back and that the same Hull House was back because the part of the terrifying thing of Night of the Demons to me is Hull House. The house is spectacular. Like it is terrifying. It's so scary. And like the fact that they were able to go back with the same house and then Amelia Kinkade as Angela, there's no one else that could be Angela. And like I'm so like it is all about Angela. She was back in the black wedding dress. She's as an amazing dancing again. Like Night of the Demons is not Night of the Demons without Angela, and I'm so happy. Like I was so happy that she was back. So that's what I liked the most about Night of the Demons 2. I had sat now on what I liked the least. And I'm thinking like what really did I like the least about? And it's hard because I'm kind of biased because I've watched the movie since I was a child. So it's like built in my brain that it's like amazing in every way, right? But there has to be something, right? So the thing that came to mind that I really liked the least, if I had to pick, was the character of Z Boy. Not that the actor did a bad job, the character was annoying. Like I didn't like his character. I just didn't like him when he was not a demon. I didn't like him when he was a demon. He just does this loud, like weird screamy thing, which I shouldn't judge because I also do weird noises all the time. But I don't know. He annoyed me. If all of them, he annoyed me the most. So if I had to pick something, what I liked the least about the movie was Z Boy. All right. Now, moving on, before we get into the next part, I want to take a second and answer this week's terrifying trivia question. So the question again, I'm going to recap, was what item does BB take from Hull House that allowed Angela to cross the underground stream? Now, if you listened, I kind of spoiled it earlier, but the answer is Suzanne's lipstick. So I have to get into this story. There's no way that I can do this episode without talking about this fucking scene. BB goes into Hull House and she's in the bathroom and she opens the fucking medicine cabinet mirror, and there's a lipstick there. And like Hull House has been abandoned for a very long time. It is disgusting in there. And there's just a lipstick there. She fucking takes it and goes to put it on. I'm like, first of all, who the fuck goes into an abandoned house, finds a lipstick, and decides like, I'm gonna try this on my face? Like, of anything too, like you're putting something on your lips, your mouth, you don't know where it's been, how long it's been there. Ew, disgusting. And then the lipstick like tries to like go down her throat, and like she throws it down for a second. No, I lied. I just straight lied. That did not happen. She that happened in the car. So she takes it. And then the car she goes to put it on and tries to go down, and she gets scared and throws it at the back of the head. And then Shirley, the character Shirley, gets it. And that's how Angela gets out. She's in the lipstick. They brought something over the underground stream. There's an underground stream that used to be surrounded by a brick wall, and demons weren't allowed to cross it, but they had this vessel that they crossed it, and they were able to. So anyway, when Shirley goes into the bathroom at the school dance, she pulls lipstick out, and when she goes to put it on, it tries to go down her throat, and it's like attacking her, and she's fighting, and then like she throws it out, and then it lands on the rug, and the lipstick starts to come out of the tube like a snake, and it's slithering out, and then eventually it's completely on this like weird demonic like tail kind of thing, and she's trying to get out, and she's screaming, and she's banging on the door, and then she stops, and this is so fucking iconic. This thing comes and scrolls around her leg and grows up inside of her. That's as graphic as I'm gonna get. I'm not gonna say it. Use your imaginations. It goes inside of her, and then Angela comes out of the lipstick tube as smoke, and she reappears, and like Shirley falls to the ground. Angela like lifts her head and then kisses her, and then ultimately is possessed her. Fucking like wild. This is what I mean. Like just crazy. I'm like, who wrote that scene? But like they're like the lipstick was like I thought it was a great way to like bring like the lipstick into it, but it would have been cool if they kept Suzanne and Angela both in as two of the demons, like villains in the movies. That would have been great if they would have like been two the whole time, because that would have been cool for Suzanne to come out of the lipstick. That would have been super cool. But anyway, that was the answer, was Suzanne's lipstick. Now, we're going to do a little part where we're going to tell you the number of kills in Night of the Demons 2. And if I did my math correctly, because I didn't look it up, I did it off the top of my head. There were 9 kills in Night of the Demons 2. So if I'm wrong, please go to one of the social channels and correct me. But from my knowledge, there are 9 kills in Night of the Demons 2. But we have reached the final part of the show. So it is time to do my final rating and review for Night of the Demons 2. So obviously, the rating system this week, if you haven't guessed it, is going to be lipsticks, because it's just an iconic part of the fucking movies to me. I even like have a spooky shaker, which is literally just like a gin and tonic that I named after the first one, which is called Stop Looking at Me. If you go on the website, the picture of it has like lipstick written in the background, and I have the lipstick on my collector shelf. It's not even a collector's piece from Night of the Demons. It just reminded me of it, and I have it there on my shelf as just my own piece to nod towards Night of the Demons. But yeah, I give Night of the Demons 2 an 8 out of 10 lipsticks. It's not a perfect movie, but it's a fun as hell movie. And here's my final review. Night of the Demons 2 is a hidden horror gem. Amelia Kinkade gives another amazing performance as the host from Hell, Angela. While it leans more on the comedic side, it is a fun, outrageous Halloween movie that I've enjoyed for decades. It gives you troubled teens, a deserted, possessed funeral parlor, gore, and a lot of hilarious dialogue. No need to leave a little room for the Holy Ghost. If you're looking to add another go-to Halloween movie, this is it. Night of the Demons 2 is available to rent now on Amazon Prime for $3.99. And if you're into collecting, I'm not sponsored, go to Shop Factory. They are selling all 3 of the Night of the Demons movies on Blu-ray right now, and they have some cool things over there as well. And also, there is a creator on Instagram. One of the makeup artists, Nick Benson, is on Instagram and is working with a company to have recreated 3 Night of the Demons masks from the first one, which is Angela, Stooge, and Suzanne. and they are taking pre-orders now. So get ready for Halloween season. Go watch the Night of the Demons movies. Next week, we're going to have another Halloween favorite film of mine. I'm not going to give away which one yet. You're going to have to wait to see what it is. But again, follow me on the social channels because I'm going to try to do my challenge of 31 Days of Halloween where I recommend another movie every day. But that's it for this week's episode. Happy Halloween season, everybody. Stay safe. Stay spooky. Thanks again for joining me on another episode of The Horror Within Me. Please rate and review the show on whatever platform you're listening in from, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to get notified when new episodes drop. I'm also on all major social channels, so be sure to check out my website, www.thehorrorwithinme.com, for all those links. And until next time, my friends, stay spooky!